But where's the rum? Hey guys, Final Death Star here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you have, thank you very much. If you haven't, thank you in advance. Don't forget to hit the like button, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Okay, so Pirates of the Caribbean is back in the news. And unfortunately, it's not with Johnny Depp. Now, Johnny Depp's been going through a lot of troubles recently. And you know, it seems to be it was all Amber Heard that was causing all these problems and issues, and it wasn't Johnny Depp. So, in my opinion, I think he should be back in this movie. But what I guess they're going to do is reboot the franchise, and with the continuous Hollywood trend of doing, you know, taking franchises and just copying them, and then, you know, putting a woman cast involved without really making anything new, that seems to be what they're doing. Now, there's no details in this movie yet, so I can't say. I don't know if it's going to be good, if it's not going to be good. All I know is from the trend of what we've seen, when they've done this before, like with Ghostbusters, when they switch, you know, and swap the, you know, the genders of characters, it seems like they put more focus on that than they do on the story. So, I don't know. You know, all I'm saying is I'm skeptical. I like Margot Robbie, you know, as a lead character. I mean, she's a good actress, and I like her, but it's just this trend of doing things where they, you know, they don't really seem to care about the stories and the franchises. But anyway, so what I thought I would do is give Hollywood an idea. Instead of just taking something like Pirates of the Caribbean and copying it and putting a woman cast in it and, you know, hoping it sells and does well, and why don't they do something original? I know it's kind of crazy. It might be too far out there, but I think, you know, if they did it right, they could really do something good. So I thought, okay, you want to do a female pirate movie? Why don't, instead of just doing Pirates of the Caribbean, slapping a label, why don't you look through history and see if there's any cool female pirates from real life that you could build a story around? Crazy idea, huh? And it just so happens that there are at least 5, so I've got a top 5 famous and freaking pretty cool female pirates from real life that Hollywood could have chosen to make a movie about, instead of just copying the Pirates of the Caribbean and, you know, making a I don't know, a female Jack Sparrow. I don't know what they're gonna do, but so here we go. This is coming from history.com. It's history, huh? It's funny when you don't race history, you actually want to learn from history. You learn something. Take a look back at the criminal careers of 5 of history's most ferocious seafaring women. Number 1 on the list is Chang Sal. Chang Sal, one of history's most influential raiders, began her career in a Chinese brothel. Well, there you go, from prostitute to pirate. Interesting career change there, you know. Chang Sal, or the wife of Chang, was a Cantonese former prostitute who married a powerful courtier named Chang in 1801. The husband and wife team soon raided one of China's most formidable pirate armies. Their outfit boasted hundreds of ships and some 50,000 men, and it preyed on fishing vessels, supply junks, and coastal villages of southern China with impunity. Upon her husband's death in 1807, Mrs. Chang elbowed her way into power and partnered with a trusted lieutenant and lover named Chang Pao. Over the next few years, she plundered her way across Southeast Asia and assembled a fleet that rivaled many countries' navies. She also penned a rigorous code of conduct for her pirates. Rape of female prisoners was punishable by beheading, and deserters had their ears lopped off. Mrs. Chang's bloody reign made her public enemy number 1 of the Chinese government, and in 1810 the British and Portuguese navies were enlisted to bring her to justice. Rather than dunking her at sea, she shrewdly agreed to surrender her fleet and lay down her cutlass in exchange for the right to keep her ill-gotten riches. Mrs. Chang retired as one of history's most successful pirates and went on to run a gambling house until her death in 1844 at the age of 69. Number 2, Bonny. The notorious pirate Anne Bonny began her life as the illegitimate daughter of a wealthy Irish lawyer. In an effort to hide her dubious parentage, her father had her dress as a boy and pose as his law clerk for part of her youth. She later moved to America, where she married a sailor in 1718 and journeyed to the pirate-infested island of New Providence in the Bahamas. There she abandoned her husband and fell under the spell of Calico Jack Rackman, a flamboyant buccaneer who plied his trade in the Caribbean. Bonny had always been known for her fierce and courageous temper. According to one legend, she nearly beat a man to death when he tried to force himself on her, and she quickly showed she could guzzle rum, curse, and wield a pistol and cutlass with the best of Calico Jack's crew. She later forged a friendship with fellow female pirate Mary Read, and the pair played a leading role in a movie that Hollywood should have made. No. In a spree of raids against small fishing boats and trading sloops in the summer and fall of 1720. Bonny's stint at the high seas was cut short that October when Calico Jack's ship was captured by a band of pirate hunters. Calico Jack and several other men were executed, but Bonny and Read dodged the noose after they were both found to be pregnant. Number 3, Mary Read. Born in England in the late 17th century, Mary Read spends most of her youth disguised as her deceased half-brother, so that her penniless mother could scam the boy's grandmother. Oh, man. Talk about being a pirate but from birth. Hoping to quench her thirst for adventure, she later adopted the name Mark Read and took on a succession of traditionally male jobs, first as a soldier and later as a merchant sailor. Read turned pirate in the late 1710s after buccaneers attacked the ship she was working on and impressed her into their ranks. She later found her way aboard the Calico Jack Rackman's boat, where she met and befriended Anne Bonny, who we just read about, and revealed herself to be a woman. Read only sailed with Calico Jack for a few months, but during that time she won a fearsome reputation. One of the most famous exploits came in October 1720, when she and Bonny fought like banshees during an attack by pirate hunters. "If there's a man among ye," she supposedly screamed at the male buccaneers cowering below deck, "you'll come up and fight like the men ye are to be." Well, that's not very feminine, but I think I got the pirate down anyway, huh? Despite Read's heretics, she and the rest of Calico Jack's crew were captured and charged with piracy. Read avoided execution by admitting she was quick with child, but she later came down with a fever and died in prison. Now that would be a pretty cool story. You've already got a movie right there. You have two different female pirates that knew each other on the same boat, and some of their most exciting adventures were together. Unless Pirates of the Caribbean is going to be based on this, they should have done this, because this sounds a lot more fascinating and pretty freaking cool. Moving along, number 4, Grace O'Malley. During a time when most women were denied an education and kept restrained to their homes, pirate Grace O'Malley led a 20-ship fleet that stood up to the might of the British monarchy. Also known as Granuale, or bald, for her habit of cutting her hair short, O'Malley was born into a powerful clan that lorded over coastlines of Western Ireland. After taking the reins in the 1560s, she continued a family tradition of piracy by plundering English and Spanish shipping vessels and attacking rival chieftains. Her escapades were legendary. One tale claims she did battle at sea only a day after giving birth, but they also drew the ire of the authorities. She was forced to repel a siege against her stronghold at Rockfleet Castle in 1574, and later did 18 months behind bars after she was captured during one of her raids. O'Malley resumed her marauding after release, but more trouble arrived in the early 1590s when British authorities impounded her fleet. With nowhere else to turn, the 63-year-old buccaneer appealed directly to Queen Elizabeth I for assistance. During a famous royal audience in London, O'Malley portrayed herself as a tired and broken old woman and begged the Queen to return her ships, release one of her captured sons, and allow her to retire in peace. The gambit worked, but it seems that the Granuale didn't keep up her end of the bargain. Records show that she and her sons continued pirating until her death in 1603. Well, that's definitely keeping and continuing a family tradition. Number 5, Rachel Wall. Rachel Wall's biography is peppered with myths and legends, but if certain tales about her are true, she was one of the first and only American women to try her hand at piracy. As the story goes, Wall was a Pennsylvania native who ran away from home as a teen and married a fisherman named George Wall. The couple settled in Boston and tried to scrape out a living, but constant money problems eventually led to them turning to a life of crime. In 1781, the Walls procured a small boat teamed with a few lowlife mariners and began preying on ships off the coast of New England. Their strategy was as ingenious as it was brutal. Whenever a storm passed through the region, the buccaneers would dress their boat up to look like it had been ravaged by rough seas. The calmly Rachel would then stand on deck and plead for aid from passing by ships. When the unsuspecting rescuers came near, they were promptly boarded, robbed, and murdered. No good deed goes unpunished. Wall's siren song may have lured as many as a dozen ships to their doom, but her luck ran out in 1781 when a real storm destroyed her boat and killed George. Poetic justice, I guess that's what you'd call that, She continued her thieving on land and was later arrested in 1789 for attacking and robbing a Boston woman. While in prison, she penned a confession admitting to Sabbath breaking, stealing, lying, disobedience to parents, and almost every other sin a person could commit except murder. Unfortunately for Wall, the mea culpa was not enough to sway the authorities. On October 8th, she became the last woman ever executed in Massachusetts when she was hanged to death in Boston. And there you have it. Those are 5 real-life female pirates that have pretty interesting stories and, dare I say, would be pretty cool to watch in a movie instead of copying Pirates of the Caribbean, rebooting, the same old thing we keep seeing Hollywood doing. I wish they would trust, these stories enough, trust that there would be an audience for it, trust women enough to carry on something or to make something that's actually new based in history instead of just hoping that they slap it on something that's already popular and it works out. In my opinion, that's it. Well, it's not. From what I've seen so far, it hasn't worked. Now, I don't know. Maybe it's going to be great. Maybe I don't know what they're going to do with this movie. But from what I've seen in the past, it's not a good trend. I think this would be a much better way to go about it. And honestly, some of these stories, especially the Bonny and Mary Read, that's two pirates that knew each other, worked together in the same boat. Their best adventures were together. That's made for a movie. So, there you go, Hollywood. That one's on me. All right, guys, thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, share, subscribe, and, if you know someone in Hollywood, pass them along this idea because it'd be a pretty good movie. You know what? I'm going to make it. Until next time, lock the doors and hope they don't have blasters.